Good evening, folks. This is Deb Delapiana, and this is your short take. Now, tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the train derailment that took place in East Palestine, Ohio, right on the border with Pennsylvania, a community of about 4,800 people, where a train derailed, and 11 of the 50 cars involved in the derailment had toxic chemicals inside them, 11 of those cars. And this derailment happened on February 3rd around 9 p.m. And never let it be said that the Republican Party cannot find in every disaster a political opportunity. So they have roundly been attacking the Biden administration. Fox News has been accusing Joe Biden of being slow to respond, Joe Biden of rejecting sending help to Governor Mike DeWine, blah, 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 blah. So let's talk about what we know. We're going to talk about the fact that we know that on February 3rd, this train derailed. We know they held toxic chemicals. What was in the cars? The chemicals that were in the cars, among the chemicals was vinyl chloride, which is a cancer-causing agent that's used in the manufacture of plastics. And what we do know is that when it burns, it does release other chemicals that become hazardous to people. Now, people who are exposed to these things can feel eye or throat irritation. They can have dizziness, nausea, or headaches. Now, when this derailed, what they think happened, they kind of caught it on a surveillance camera, was that a bearing overheated. As the train was moving along, they showed a flame underneath one of the cars, and sure than shit, it derailed. And it created a fire the entire length of the train. So picture this in your mind. We have a train with 11 cars full of toxic chemicals, and they're burning. And we know what's on those 11 cars. And when they burn, they release other toxic chemicals. All right, that's number one. We also know, because of the fear of exposure to toxic chemicals and the potential for explosion, that the firefighters couldn't get close enough to put those fires out right away. So they continued to burn. What else do we know? On February 6th, because the temperature inside some of those cars started to rise, they also did a controlled release of vinyl chloride into the atmosphere. And in order to do that, they had to evacuate 1,500 residents. So they also know that about 3,500 fish have died in the waterways in that area as it became contaminated, including the Ohio River. So here we are, picture in your mind this scenario. And this is what we hear from Mike DeWine. For all of those people who are blaming Joe Biden for being slow to respond, okay? This is Mike DeWine's statement. Look, this is his statement now. Look, the president called me and said, anything you need. I have not called him back after that conversation. We will not hesitate to do that if we're seeing a problem or anything, but I'm not seeing it. Really, I'm going to suggest to you that if you are faced with this catastrophe and you have a bunch of residents in the town who are totally paranoid and afraid, okay, residents who are saying that beyond the 3,500 fish, they see chickens and other animals becoming ill, I'm suggesting to you that you might be seeing a problem. So I don't know what they expect Joe Biden to do if Governor DeWine does not return a phone call. I don't know what they expect people to do when the Democratic senator from Ohio, Sherrod Brown, wrote a letter imploring Mike DeWine to declare a disaster over this derailment, which should have been done. Because once you declare a disaster, you're guaranteed federal assistance. Just calling up FEMA and asking for help you're going to be told that you're not eligible for that help right now. You need to declare a disaster. I don't understand how this guy is not being dumped on. He's actually saying he hasn't called President Biden back. And yet the Republican Party is attacking Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden for this. This happened in the state of Ohio, one state in the union. Joe Biden was quick to call and offer assistance. Assistance has been rejected by the governor of Ohio until just now, until the 17th, when they did get FEMA to send teams in to help out and assistance. As Sherrod Brown said, this community is going to need help rebuilding and getting itself back on its feet. Declare it a disaster so you can get the help these people need. These people need to know that they're going to be living in an area that's safe for them to live in. There's going to have to be a massive cleanup. Norfolk Southern, the train company behind this, has said that they will clean it up. But, there are questions about Norfolk Southern. Okay, apparently their profits have gone up, but so has their accident rate. There are workers, okay, who have expressed concern about the train's size, its excessive length, and its excessive weight. This train was 151 cars total, 9,300 feet long, and 18,000 tons. We know that the rail industry in general has been reluctant to change its braking system. And we know that when you don't have a robust braking system, a train of that size can be a bit of a problem. Maybe that's what happened. We don't know because the NTSB isn't done testing. In fact, before they can get into those cars to look at them, they have to be decontaminated. So I'm suggesting to you this. Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden could not have put on their Superman costumes and flown out to Ohio and put the fire out. Okay? We also know that this particular train broke down en route, on the route that it was on, broke down at least once. Now, are excessive shareholder profits tied to, a cut in safety measures? We don't know any of that until there's an investigation. That's what needs to happen. So I'm going to suggest to you this. The Republican Party should be calling for an investigation of Norfolk Southern and the events and the situations, the maintenance, whatever, surrounding this particular train. Was it too big? Was it too heavy? Was it overweight? Not on whether Joe Biden's response was slow. Okay? He phoned Mike DeWine. Mike DeWine essentially didn't take him up on his offer. I'm not saying he rejected anything. He said he would call if he saw a problem, but he wasn't seeing any at that time. We had a derailment that happened on February 3rd. We have known specifics about this train, about what was on this train, yet nobody declared a disaster until the 15th or the 16th of the month. I find this really unbelievable, to be honest with you. We're talking about people's lives and their uncertainty surrounding whether they live in a healthy area anymore. All right, now, their local EPA has been monitoring. They now have help from FEMA. We can get to the bottom of this. But none of this, my friends, is an instant fix. And none of this gets resolved in a day when it's a accident of this magnitude. This should have been seen as a disaster from much earlier on than it was. And the only one that could have made that a disaster was Governor DeWine. I rest my case. I'll talk to you all later.